just sang about it in the song. God is all there is. Mary did it in her prayer. God is all there is. We say that all the time. God is all there is. So we're going to explore a little deeper what this means, because this is part of, and this is laughing with me, because I get so excited. I've said this before too, but let me just say, lest you think any differently, I use this teaching every single day. I say all the time, it's not a one and done. It's not like, okay, I got that, and then leave it alone. I have to remind myself every day exactly what I tell you. So, there you go. So, I get excited, because it's for me. I was so excited to find this. Anyway, where was I? What do we mean by God is all there is? This is one of the pillars of the science of mind philosophy, which are slightly different than all other spiritual or religious teachings. It is slightly different, and we're going to talk about that difference. So, Ernest Holmes, who is our founder, who we do not worship, he simply wrote the book, The Science of Mind. He took spirituality, he took religion, he took philosophy, he took the greatest wisdom of the ages and kind of brought it together, as did many other new thought thinkers of his time, and put it in this book called The Science of Mind. Not the only book by any means to read. But the fascinating thing, one of my colleagues took the book and found all the different ways that Ernest Holmes referred to God. You could say words to use for God. So I have a list. Here's the first part of it. That's A through M, which leave it there for just a second. So can you see some of it? I've highlighted creative energy, divine mind, eternal reality, first cause, God, infinite life, light, love. Those are some of mine. Take some of that in. For those of you who come from a Christian background, we even have Heavenly Father. There's a few on here I don't like great judge. But you have to understand the law to understand that one. Okay? He's got Christ. He's got lover of my soul. You know how you know when you're reading the book that he means, that he's talking about God? It's capitalized. Okay, there's another slide. Remember, this goes to M. Ready? M through W. 161 words that Ernest Holmes uses. Nature, you can see my highlights. Nature, one power, perfect whole, reality, source, spirit, the great whole, the one, the thing itself, one of my favorites, the truth, the universal, ultimate stuff. He's got wisdom, he's got wonderful joy, he's got principle, he's got perfect life. 161 from one author in one book. Now you add to this every religion in the world who calls it something else. Every religion, other new thought teachings, right? This is just one person in one book. 161 words for God. Why does that matter? Well, for me, it matters. Maybe for you too, because God is not my favorite. So I love having other things. For me, it was a long journey to get past the idea of God as the man in the sky, which I did not believe in for a long, long, long time. Because we live on a round planet in the middle of space. Where is up? We live in space, guys. It's not like, oh, we live here and there's outer space. We live in it. We're in outer space. Sustained here on Earth for life. Human life. So I didn't really like the word God because I just couldn't get away from the man with the white beard in the sky image. And so when I first heard that there's other ways, I went, oh. I was so happy to have other ways to speak about it. Maybe you feel that way too. Maybe you don't. It's all going to come down to whatever you believe, but that was why it was important. So what these all point to is this one wonderful word for all of you word geeks who like to look things up. Pantheistic. Pantheistic. What does pan mean? All. You know, we just went through a pandemic. All, everywhere. Pan, remember the airlines? Pan American, they flew all over America. Pan means all. So theos, from the Greek word, means God. All God. So pantheism is part of what we are. It's part of what we teach. Pantheism All is God, all is equal, all is created equal as God. We say there is unity, only one, showing up in multiplicity. All of us, all animals, all form, everything. One. But here's another fun word. I say for all you word geeks, because I'm a word geek. I love looking up words. What does that mean? Panentheism. We are both of these things. Panentheistic or panentheism means that God is all there is. There's this one source. God is showing up in every bit of its creation and beyond. Transcendence of its creation. We would say both things, wouldn't we? So we're pantheistic, we're panentheistic. We believe everywhere, that energy is everywhere, and way more than anything we can talk about. So look it up if you like to. So this whole pantheism brings me to my favorite joke that I tell every single year, but it's so perfect, I'm going to say it again. That's the joke between the scientist and God. The scientist says, oh, okay, God. Imagine now for a minute that God is a man in the sky and can talk to you. Okay? That's why it's a joke. Okay, God, we have come so far in science. We have learned how to create everything. We've learned how to create humans. We don't need you anymore. God says, oh, yeah? Okay, cool. How about a contest? Scientist says, yeah, right, that's right. Bring it on, bring it on. Scientist says, let's have a contest. Who can make the better human? God says, all right, great. But you have to do it exactly the way I did, from scratch. The scientist bends down and grabs up his handful of dirt. And God says, get your own dirt.
That's good.
It's so good, I could end it right there. But you came for a little bit more, I think. I could end it right there. Get your own, say, because the dirt is God in expression as well. Okay. If you read the Genesis stories in the Bible, I say stories because yes, there are two. If you've never noticed, there are two Genesis stories. In the beginning, which we sang, in the beginning, God. That was simply the author's way of saying to the people around, God is in everything. God created everything. God made everything. Everything. You find it right there. Go read it someday. So last week, this is important now because of the God and the scientists having this conversation. Last week I said God is not a person for us. God is a concept. Concept sounds kind of cold, so let's keep going. God is a concept, not a person. So when we say God is all there is, this is where my journey took me. It took a while. God is all there is. What's this? This is a piano. So you're saying to me that this is God. God is all there is. This is God? Yes. But here's how we have to look at this whole idea. In and of itself, the piano cannot choose anything. In and of itself, the piano cannot create anything. In and of itself, it's a conglomeration of wood and strings and hammers, and it's amazing if you've never looked inside one, and keys. But in and of itself, you'd think, well, how could the piano be God? Well, Ernest Holmes says we have to look at it three different ways, and so we did. So, universal mind is one of the things. We say universal mind because it reminds us there's an intelligence of the divine, of God, of the one source. There's an intelligence, clearly. Then we say that that intelligence must work through some sort of a creative energy, because intelligence in and of itself doesn't do anything either. There has to be a creative energy to bring that about. And then we talk about individual expression, which this is this. This is an individual expression of the divine. This is the form. It cannot choose. However, there was a person or persons who said, wow, do you ever ask yourself that question? Who was the first one? Like, who's the first one who picked that thing out of the ground and said, I wonder if I can eat it? Who was the first one who ever said, I can make this gigantic box and make music? It's certainly not portable, unless you have one of these. But who was the first one? So let's say somebody's mind thought of it. Whose mind is that? That's the universal mind of the one, God, source, working through that human being, having this thought. It's a God thought, right? It's a God thought. Hey, music. It's not like just the human thought of this, because everything is God. Then the creative energy said, okay, here's what I have to do. I have to go gather all these things up. And you bet there was some probably pretty bad experiments along the way to try to make this gorgeous instrument. I don't know, anybody ever checked out the history of piano making? There's another thing for us word geeks. How do you make a piano? Who thought about it first? There was a creative energy that said, try this, and try this, and try this, and try this. So you could say God was working through that person to figure out how to make this thing. Now, you've probably heard in science, everything is energy vibrating at different levels of vibration. This too, we think of this as an inanimate object. It ain't. This is not inanimate. It's made of molecules and it's vibrating at a certain level. And when you play it, you certainly know it, that it vibrates to make what? Sound that we hear. All of it is a certain level of vibration. This isn't the highest vibration of God, but the mind that created it is. So, panentheism, God is all there is and more. Right? Get your own dirt. It's such a good thing to remember. So the universal mind moving through everything, that means you and me. Moving through us as well. So I often say the mind that I'm using is not just Shawn, it's not my brain. It is a universal mind that I am grabbing onto, if you will, or that's moving through me for the choices I want to make, which is why we all make different choices. We're all using that individual mind. But that universal mind is moving through me, through every choice I make. In our Declaration of Principles, which is something else that Ernest Holmes wrote, he said, the highest God and the innermost God is one God. Let me put it in my language, is the highest source and the innermost source is one source. Which is why we spend so much time talking about feeling the God within us. It doesn't do us any good to just know that there's, well, we shouldn't say it that way. It doesn't do me any good to just know that there's some energy out there. I got to know that I have access to that energy right here. Every piano, every human, every puppy, every star, living out loud as a divine expression of the source. Living out loud. Now, in that Science Mind textbook, Ernest Holmes said this: an evolved soul is always a worshiper of God. Do you consider yourself an evolved soul?
Working on it.
Working on it, good. An evolved soul is always a worshiper of God. They worship God in everything, for God is in everything. God not only is in everything, but God is more than everything that God is in. There's the panentheism again. All that we are is God, yet God is more than all we are. Now I have it again because I have to put it in my different language for those of you who might need this change. An evolved soul is always a worshiper of Source. They worship Source in everything, for Source is in everything. Source not only is in everything, but Source is more than everything that Source is in. All that we are is Source, yet Source is more than all we are.
Very.
Sounds like Dr. Seuss.
Well, I love Dr. Seuss, so that's good. You know, you get this. You hear me say all the time, I am not all that God is, but all that I am must be God. That's how we make the distinction, so that people don't think we're being blasphemous, saying, well, I am God. Well, yeah, I am. I am God in expression as Shawn, but I'm not all that God is, because I'm not you. I'm not the piano. I'm not the puppy I hear in the room. I'm not the stars in the sky. Okay? So, but all that I am must be it, if God is all there is. We really got to embrace this as a first level of our teaching. You hear me say all the time, turn within to the God of your understanding. So think back to that list that I showed you, all those words. You have to understand it in your own language. You have to embrace it in your own way. Otherwise, it's not going to work for you. If it doesn't have meaning for you, who cares? It's just information. You got to find the way it works for you. So here's the bottom line. How do you make sense of this thing called life? How do you make sense of this thing called life. Because there is no one right way. Where do you place your faith and your trust? What do you lean on when life is challenging? And what do you feel gratitude for when things are going really well? How do you make sense of that? So I told you what we mean by God is all there is. Now the ball's in your court. It's your turn. Close your eyes with me, please. Yes, take a big breath with Richard. Something right now is activating your ears. Something right now feels love in your heart and beats your heart. Something right now is thinking through your mind, listening through your mind. Something right now is all the bones in your body, all the blood circulating through your body, every organ doing its wonderful jobs. Something. That something is God, or that something is the one source. I invite us all to feel it to such a degree that we know beyond a shadow of a doubt that this one source lives within us. This one source lives as us. This one source essentially then is us. Let us take a deep breath and grasp it on a deeper level right now than ever before. God is all there is, which includes me. From this place of recognition, I claim for all of us that we live and move and have our being as expressions of this divine source. I claim for all of us, whether in the flesh or out of the flesh, the things we see, the things we don't see, all of this divine source. Infinite, unlimited, unbroken. I claim for us that in this place of recognizing all the universal mind is right here where I am, all the universal creative energy is right here where I am. So that when we make a choice, it is God moving through that choice. It is that one source maybe leading that choice. And so understanding our true nature and understanding that we have choice, I claim today that we marry these ideas in such a way that they enrich our livingness this very moment. They enrich our livingness as we leave here and as we move through our day, as we move through our week, as we move through our year. Keep fresh before us the reminder that the one source is all there is. It is right here. And I get to play in its playground by making all my beautiful choices. I am so grateful to marry these ideas so that they enrich my life, your life. I'm grateful to know. And with gratitude I can release now because that dirt is God's dirt. And it knows exactly how to grow this prayer. And so I let go and I let God to remain safe. And so it is.